One of the things that I think would be key to having a rail system in central Oklahoma would be the saving of the Union Station and its rail bed. At the present time, the Union Station, the building, a beautiful restored historical building, is being used for office space and being rented out as storage space and that sort of thing, and that's a waste. That building was purchased in 1989 by federal money that the city of Oklahoma City was able to obtain, and purchased that facility with the express purpose of using it as an intermodal hub. Now, if the rail bed for the Union Station is destroyed by the proposed crosstown expressway route, then we will probably never have the opportunity to utilize that station as an intermodal hub.
My name is Garl Latham. I work as the principal for Latham Railway Services, my own consulting firm out of Dallas, Texas. I have experience about 5 years at DART, 10 years at Amtrak, and several other railroad jobs throughout my career that's now dated over 30 years in the industry. And I'm very interested in what's happening in Oklahoma, and Oklahoma City specifically, because of what I consider to be the future of rail-based passenger transportation in the center of the United States, and the future of Oklahomans to be able to get around in a post-autocentric society. That's a fancy term for what do we do when it's no longer possible to drive every place? What do we do when gasoline is not as universally affordable as it is now? I really am concerned for the future of Union Station, which I understand was purchased for future transportation use, and now the people in Oklahoma City are being denied that future because of other plans being made. As a railroad consultant and as a railroader that has predominantly a passenger background, I see quite a lot of similarity between what's happening in Oklahoma City today and what has happened in many other cities throughout the United States and Canada in the last 20 to 30 years. And they all seem to go through this same process. The naysayers come out, it will never work here, it may have worked in other places, but we don't have the population density, or everyone is married to their automobile, or all the litany of excuses that you often hear. And there is a feeling that there'll be no reason why that something like this would be necessary, that government boondoggle always comes to mind, all kinds of things that you hear quite often. And still, every place that has had a well-planned, well-executed, rail-based passenger transportation system built from the ground up in the United States within that 20 to 30 year time period has found it to be successful. Very much so. Worth the money it's spent to establish it, well used, well patronized by not only transit dependent but discretionary riders, something that the people feel good about and wish it to expand. They start, instead of fighting it every step of the way, they start thinking, well, you know, I want this for my town too. Why doesn't my neighborhood have this? And it happens time and time and time again. The cities and regions that have infrastructure in place really benefit from that. The turnkey price, the capital expenditures are much lower. And in some instances, the very fact that there are no infrastructures left, especially the facilities such as passenger stations, can eliminate the proposed system from the running. It can make it so expensive, so prohibitive to be able to actually get the trains started that people give up. They might go to a bus-only system, bus rapid transit. Houston is looking at primarily a bus rapid transit system, mainly because there is no large downtown station left in Houston anymore with facilities intact. The head house of Union Station there in Houston has become essentially the grand entrance to their baseball park downtown, and the former Southern Pacific Depot, which Amtrak uses, is totally inadequate for any meaningful service expansion. Atlanta, Georgia lost both of their main downtown railroad stations, Union Station and Terminal Station, many years ago. Now there is no nexus for all the lines to come together. Many of the lines are still physically in place, at least the main lines coming through town, but there is no huge passenger station to turn to. One of the reasons DART worked in Dallas is because Dallas Union Terminal existed. The building was to be saved, but also the facilities behind it. A man named Dan Monaghan, professionally an optometrist, and Dan Monaghan really believed in the future of Dallas passenger railroad service. At the time he started to fight for this, there weren't even any Amtrak trains in Dallas, much less DART. DART by name had not even been given birth in someone's mind. And Dan went to bat for the building and for its infrastructure. Essentially, the city council finally brought it to vote, and the vote to save Union Terminal passed by one vote. And now DART has admitted that they really could not have started, really could not have done what they have done with Dallas area railroading and with the rebuilding of passenger service without that single facility downtown. All of their trains now, the red and blue line light rail, the Trinity Railway Express, as well as Amtrak trains, all use Union Terminal. It is also the funnel for all freight train services through there, so all the trains go through this facility. The building's there, the platforms are there, and they've been used since the time that Dan did his work. It's something that happened with a man named Ken Hughes in Dallas at Mockingbird Station. And Mockingbird Station is now one of the ultimate examples of transit-oriented development in the United States. Mockingbird Station was ripe for the picking, and he came in and purchased a former Western Electric, AT&T, warehouse. And it went from there to be one of the premier transit developments anywhere that I know of. You have some residences, you then have some restaurants, and you have some bars, and you have shops. And he understood that it's not necessarily how many cars can get there and where they can park, but the people that can get in on the train also that will fill up all these retail spaces. There are now multi-story apartment buildings and hotel and well, actually 2 hotels within easy walking distance of the platforms at Mockingbird Station. And there's a grocery store adjacent to that development. People actually doing shopping on their way home or change trains there so that they can do some things. The proximity to the park cities, all that has to do with how successful Mockingbird Station is. You're going to have the need for automobile traffic to service your development also. But with transit-oriented development in almost every case, that's a given because most of the light rail and commuter train stations are going to have parking at that location, and they're going to have intermodal interconnectivity with, let's say, local bus line that would serve that station also. So the roads are given. You have this synergy between all the different modes and all the different ways to get there, and it feeds the stations that otherwise would not be developed. Mockingbird Station would not exist if it wasn't for DART. And Ken Hughes is one of the first men that would admit that. And it's interesting that that development alone brought as much of an economic impact to the Dallas area as the entire out-of-pocket cost for the initial DART starter system. And it's a tremendous way, I believe, to view the future, because suddenly trains are not simply just another mode of moving people from one point to another. Trains are a way to change people's outlook, to change the way they live, and not in a negative way at all. They can still keep their cars, they can still keep their homes, but where they shop and where they play on the outside, it makes all the difference in the world how that works. And transit-oriented development is one of the reasons why.